Hello,
Hey,
how are you?
good, and you?
I am pretty good.
Good.
So let's go down the rabbit hole.
Alrighty, sounds good to me.
All right. Shout out to Katie Halber. This is on her channel. Go to it, like, share, subscribe.
Can you talk about Trump's limited release of the Epstein files?
Yeah, sure. So, obviously there was that big, highly publicized release of what was said to be phase one of the Epstein files, with a lot of, Twitter influencers and other figures given these binders. And obviously that didn't go over, I think, the way they anticipated it would, mainly because, the files themselves didn't really had been heavily hyped, including, among pro-Trump media figures, and then obviously the documents therein, most of which had been previously released and made publicly available, didn't live up to the hype. And then there was this effort to sort of say that, oh, well, Pam Bondi didn't have all the documents, and it was this one office that was sort of.
Now, already she said it was overhyped and Pam Bondi didn't have all the documents. This
Right,
was done almost 6 months ago. She said this.
right.
She said it was overhyped then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So to anybody watching this video, just know that this video was done a long time before the shitstorm that Elon Musk created with the so-called Epstein client list.
Withholding
Right.
them. And so, supposedly FBI agents have been digging through them with the plans to release them. But then some of these figures that had promoted the Epstein releases previously in media, like Megyn Kelly, came out and said, oh, well, as I understand it, these documents aren't really the bombshells. There's not really anything explosive in there. So there's been sort of this effort to, on the one hand, claim that more is to come, and then also downplay the significance of what will come out later. And as I understand it, the claims that were made about what the documents that were being allegedly withheld were related to documents generated by the FBI upon their raiding of Epstein's property in New York City in 2019. I have a few thoughts about that. One is, it would be nice if the FBI would explain why Epstein's other residences were not raided, like the Zorro Ranch property in New Mexico, never raided. And then why, it took them a month to get to the island in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Little St. James. Be nice to know that. And of course, some of arguably some very important documents, I believe, could be obtained by the Department of Justice that are held not by the FBI, but the U.S. Virgin Islands, because there was this case involving the U.S. Virgin Islands and J.P. Morgan as it related to Epstein. And that case got settled out of court, so it didn't go to trial. But I believe those documents would be very, very, very telling. But I would argue the reason they won't come out is because one of the people subpoenaed as part of that investigation was Elon Musk.
Oh, wow.
He wasn't necessarily accused of wrongdoing, but was subpoenaed because he was suspected of having had some sort of involvement with Epstein and JP Morgan. And there are allegations, of course, not really allegations, but, it was reported, before Musk was closely affiliated with Trump, that Epstein had been advising Tesla and was part of this effort in 2018 to take Tesla private with Gulf oil money or Saudi money. And at the time, Epstein was advising Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, and was also known to have a close relationship with the elite families of the United Arab Emirates, and also Kuwait. And
Epstein didn't wait. Elon Musk didn't say anything about him being advised by Epstein.
He sure didn't, or being subpoenaed.
Right. I wanted to just say that before she got too
Yeah.
far with that.
Yeah, she said that those records from was it the Zorro Ranch? No, the Virgin Islands.
Hmm.
Those records with those documents would probably not be released because of the involvement with Elon.
Right.
And
Hmm.
because he was subpoenaed in that case, he never said that he had any connection at all. Did you ever hear that?
I've never heard about Elon Musk having any ties to Epstein. But if
I
Whitney
haven't
Webb
either.
says it, I believe it.
Hmm.
I I don't think
Wow.
she's making that up. It makes sense. It
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Well, let's see what else she has to say.
And I think Bahrain as well. So perhaps they don't want to have that really be explored at this
Wow.
point. But some of the other figures that were subpoenaed and accused of wrongdoing, because in the case of the USVI case, it was specifically that JP Morgan's accounts with Epstein and relationship with Epstein was connected to the human trafficking, sex trafficking.
Yep, sorry about that.
Let's be real. Most people.
And so you have people like Larry Page and Sergey Brin of Google, the Google co-founders, being subpoenaed as part of that. You have Tom Pritzker of Hyatt Hotels being subpoenaed. And of course, the Pritzkers are a very powerful family in Chicago, specifically very connected, for example, to the rise of Barack Obama as a politician, but also a lot of prominent think tanks like the Carnegie Endowment run by a Pritzker. And I think Tom Pritzker, who was subpoenaed here, ran for a long time or was chairman of the board of CSIS, which is one of these very national security adjacent think tanks with a lot of influence on U.S. national security policy. So probably people that can afford to be sort of left out of the limelight, I guess, because a lot of, what I've argued for a long time as it relates to Epstein is that, there's been a pretty much exclusive focus on his sex crimes, but not his financial crimes. Epstein was a guy that, obviously the media narrative since his arrest and his death has tried to frame him as a great Gatsby kind of figure. He was all talk and just a charlatan and this and that. No, he was kept around by elite figures because he was very good at helping them evade taxes and was very good at money laundering and had a very, very intimate knowledge of the offshore banking system, where a lot of these families historically hide their money. So like the Pritzker family, for example, have early ties to organized crime going back to like the 20s and 30s. And they were one of the main clients early on of Castle Bank, which brings together some organized crime linked figures. And also the CIA through Paul Hellawell, who was a CIA banker that helped set it up. And, it helped launder money for organized crime interests and also some of these families like the Pritzkers who later became very politically powerful. So,
And of course, the governor, J.B. Pritzker.
yeah, sure. And Penny Pritzker was Obama's Secretary of Commerce.
Right.
And the Pritzkers and the Crowns, who, Lester Crown was part of the mega group that we talked about earlier. And the Crown family, going back to Henry Crown, have extensive organized crime ties as well. They sort of helped Barack Obama's early career, for example, and sort of helped propel him to the presidency, and well, first as a senator, right? But sort of, have a lot of influence on Democratic politics in Chicago in particular. So it's really not surprising that you'd have a Pritzker be governor there. But they're quite a powerful and influential family. It doesn't really get talked about a lot. And speaking of the Crowns, on the board of JP Morgan for a long time was James Crown, Lester Crown's son, who, along with banking interests in Ohio, intimately tied to Leslie Wexner, basically had created modern day JP Morgan with Jamie Dimon at the helm. They're totally responsible for Jamie Dimon being in charge of that bank, namely Crown, and also this guy named John Kessler, who, is just as much a Leslie Wexner henchman as Epstein was, and was intimately involved with Epstein as well. So, those are the people that put Jamie Dimon in charge. Arguably, that explains why why Epstein and JP Morgan had such a close relationship. And I think they just couldn't have that case go to court. So Pam Bondi could get a lot of that information if she wanted to, but I don't think there's any interest in exploring that.
What about Megyn Kelly? You said that she was. Are you saying that she was downplaying it, or are you saying she was just reporting on?
Yeah, well, I don't regularly watch her show. I want to make that very clear, full disclosure. But I was shown a clip that had been posted on Twitter of her subsequently after the first release, saying that it was her understanding that the documents that were allegedly being sifted through after the phase 1 release were not really as significant as some had been led to believe. There's also this claim that gets circulated a lot that there's like a client list the FBI is sitting on, and it's really doubtful as to whether or not that actually exists or not. So
Now stop right there.
That was a lot.
But the last thing she said was it's doubtful that a client list exists. She said that 6 months ago.
Right.
6 months ago. Like before Elon Musk said the reason why they won't release it is because Trump's name is on it. She said this 6 months
I
before.
just feel like mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna kind of say that it's just seem a little bit fishy with Elon to me. He knew. I feel like he knew that it wasn't a client's list, because why would you say Trump's name is going to be on it and you're in the subpoena? That will automatically bring you into the situation, and you already not in it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
His name,
he
we didn't
totally
know anything
omitted
about
his
him.
involvement. He didn't say anything about his involvement at all. He just said
Exactly.
Trump's name is on the list, and
Right.
now he just goes into this little tantrum, and we don't even
Right.
know what the spat is really about.
Right.
Like, why did he even do that?
Exactly.
Maybe he's not
Especially if
so
your
smart.
name.
Maybe he's not so
No,
smart
no.
because
I think that he knew. That was my point. I think that he brought it up because he knew that it wasn't going to come out. It was going to make Trump look like he's lying, because he knew it wasn't going to come out. He knew it was never probably not going to be proved, because he know that he's probably one of the reasons why it's not coming out, because they said that those would be this. Whitney said that those papers would probably be it would give information or whatever, but they're not bringing them out because of Elon and a few other people's involvement about them being subpoenaed.
exactly,
So he know that they're not going to
exactly.
get them.
Mm-hmm.
So he
They
not worried
probably
about, huh?
there was probably a deal behind the scenes that Trump don't know about,
Mm-hmm.
to where Elon just wasn't worried about saying that, and he didn't think anybody
Exactly.
would find out about his involvement.
Exactly.
But now she's talking about court cases that could be pulled up
Mm-hmm.
and link his direct involvement with Epstein.
Right.
Probably a little heavier than Trump was involved with Epstein.
Right. It was because, well, I believe it was because this had to do with J.P. Morgan,
Right.
and Epstein was advising Tesla and
Mm-hmm.
trying to make it private. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what did Epstein do for Trump? Like, did he make his business private?
No.
Was Trump subpoenaed in court for wrongdoing? Because Elon was, and I think they settled and kept this
Ooh.
stuff from coming out.
Ooh.
That's
All
why
right.
he not work. That's why he can throw Trump's name in there and not worry about. Because why would a person who know that they're involved in some criminal activity throw somebody else's name out, and now everybody's like, show the list, show the list. And he was actually a client.
Who was actually a client?
Elon.
Oh yeah,
That
he
was
was
his
an Epstein
advisor.
client. But yeah,
Yeah,
it was for advisory though.
right.
So
But he's
if
still a
there is a
client.
client list, he would
He
definitely be
would be
on
on it.
that client list.
Exactly.
But
So
it,
why isn't he worried?
because he knows that Epstein wouldn't keep a client list that implicated any um SA assaults or any child molestation or anything like that. He knows better than that.
But he
If
also
if
has to know that this
if I
list
knew
won't
that,
be
if I knew that, I'm sure Elon knew that. And I'm sure Elon also knows because of prior activity. If they made a settlement somewhere and there's a subpoena, there was definitely a quiet settlement somewhere, whether it involved money or not, for this information to not be disclosed. That would be the whole purpose.
exactly. And he know that they're not going to release the list that he would be on if they had a client list.
Yeah, it's called a non-disclosure agreement.
Non-disclosure. Yep, yep. So he just put Trump out there knowing that the list is not going to come out. So neither one of them are going to be is never going to be proven.
Well, if he has a non-disclosure agreement, then, he would have no fear because if that agreement is broken, he would have a civil suit.
Exactly. So he
And
wasn't
then
worried about his name.
right, and then he has a perfect excuse. Well, Epstein was just giving me some business tips. I didn't mess with any of his girls. Of course, that's what he's gonna say.
Right. Well, and Trump was just taking a flight, but you said his name was on the list.
Yeah, it was a play with words. We
Right.
peeped it when he said it. We talked about
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you ready to hear what the rest she
Wow.
has to say?
Oh yeah.
All right.
The idea of the client list is like, who did Epstein film and who is compromised? Will that come out? And, we pretty much can look at a few names of who were likely the people that were compromised, but I don't think that's any substitute for going after the people who sponsored the compromising, right? Because obviously,
Speaking of people who sponsored the compromising, they are the,
Mm-hmm.
the people were busy looking for a client list, and I heard a lot of people say, well, if there's no client list, why is Ghislaine Maxwell still in jail? Well,
Yep, I've heard that too.
I kind of got to give my take on that. um
Okay.
Ghislaine Maxwell, she procured the the goods, so to speak. She didn't necessarily know who the goods was being trafficked to, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what would definitely be necessary in a court case is what? Do you know?
Uh, what would be necessary in a court case? What evidence? The client's list?
No, for them to convict either one of them, Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell. You know what's
What?
necessary?
What?
The victims.
Oh.
Where are the
Mm-hmm.
victims?
Good
Now,
question.
with the victims, you don't need a client list.
Right. You need their testimonies.
Exactly. They know who they were trafficked to,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So it seems that, this is a sleight of hand right here. Everybody is looking in all the wrong directions and looking at all the wrong people. Never
Mm-hmm.
mind Elon, never mind Trump. Where's the victims at?
Mm-hmm.
Never mind the client list. Where are the
Mm-hmm.
victims?
Right.
I know they've been through a lot, but they don't have
Right.
to make it public. If they got victims, then they should definitely know who the clients are.
Right. And they have videos.
Yeah, but we don't know what's on them videos. From what I heard, the videos that Epstein had was Epstein participating in
Mm-hmm.
sexual
Mm-hmm.
activity,
Right. Right.
right? So that wouldn't necessarily mean that I doubt very seriously that the clients would allow it to be recorded and then allow him to keep the recordings. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't you don't get to where he was being that stupid.
Yeah.
That dude he had billions of dollars
Mm-hmm.
and he had billions of dollars of assets. Like I saw a one of the pictures from the files where he had like 3 big boxes of diamonds,
Right.
full of diamonds. Like seriously, what is he doing with that?
Mm-hmm.
That's liquid asset. That's money.
Yeah.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
no telling what that dude was worth.
Right.
All right, you ready?
Obviously,
Yep.
they're the ones trying to control the people who were compromised for their benefit. So you should absolutely look at that. And so, I think this is just kind of an effort to, make it appear like there's transparency when there really isn't as much transparency as people are being led to believe. And also, transparency in this case is no substitute for investigating and prosecuting people who absolutely should be targeted, like Leslie Wexner and
Right.
his, business empire that Epstein helped build. Epstein's relationship with Bear Stearns, which arguably helped set off the 2008 financial crisis, absolutely should be scrutinized. It has not. His relationship with JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank, obviously the JP Morgan one was covered up because they settled out of court and kept all the information from coming out in court. And then also there's the case of, Epstein in the Deutsche Bank case where, one of the judge overseeing it, her son was murdered as she was about to start overseeing that case. And then no one reports on it. And then it settles out of court as well. Obviously, I think there is some stuff there with the money flows that is a big problem for both parties. And so even though you think it would be politically expedient, for the Trump administration, to report on, Tom Pritzker or something like that, since his family's so tied to like the Obama network or whatever, it's not going to happen, because I mean, you pull on some of that and it just airs out too much dirty laundry of the whole system that it absolutely involves both parties. And also, there's the case too that the Trump administration could have put out information related to Epstein's White House visits during the Clinton administration, which you think again would be politically expedient for the Trump administration, but there's no way they'll touch that. Because as I mentioned earlier, it's related to this, there was arms trafficking and all sorts of other crazy things going on with, a lot of people that had previously been involved in the Iran-Contra network. And, Trump world has ties to that. So I don't think they'd be interested in having that come out. But it would be very nice if they did. But there's plenty of aspects of the Epstein case that could easily be obtained by Pam Bondi and released, and they won't be. So.
Well, there you have it, folks. I think Elon got some splaining to do.
Yeah, exactly. This needs to be shared all over the news and everywhere else.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me end it right here.
All right.